Hey yo, what up to the Retain fam? It's your boy Bushle. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel, and please drop down a comment below on like what day are you on cement retention, what are your insights and experiences that you've had ever since you started practice cement retention. And yeah, to those who've been clicking on my videos, who've been commenting, I really appreciate the support. I really appreciate, like being able to be part of like the cement retention community, and I really want to be part of like this community because we are actually like the small group of men within this modern day culture, within this modern day era, in this hyper sexualized culture, who are actually like talking about like a lifestyle fact that each and every single male is actually supposed to be like naturally living. But then due to the fact that we've been conditioned and programmed in the way that we've been conditioned and programmed, we just live in a world where like there have to be like people like us who have to make videos about like this type of lifestyle. Even if to some men and to some people this type of concept may be taboo, but I really like to thank my guides for letting me to be part of like this cement retention lifestyle and to be part of this community. So today I wanted to make a video about being an empath, and I'm gonna be real honest with y'all fam. Being an empath really sucks. Being an empath, it's not really about being compassionate, it's not really all about being kind and like embodying your authentic true version. Being an empath does not really mean like like you have this psychic ability where you just pick up people's thoughts and emotions, and like you're this like spiritual guru who's able like to absorb and project some people's thoughts and emotions back to them. Like there's this other concept called the empath mirror effect, where like you actually can mirror people's thoughts and emotions, and you can project the things that they're projecting onto you back to them, which actually makes you less susceptible to manipulation, which makes you able to see through manipulation. Of course, being an empath does have its own pros, but if ever like you've been someone who grew up never being aware that you're an empath, and like you've been actually identifying with thoughts and emotions that you thought were really yours, but were actually like thoughts and emotions that were being projected by other people, that were being emitted by other people's electromagnetic fields. But due to the fact that you also you were also in that environmental field, and your own electromagnetic field merged with their own electromagnetic field, all of like that information that's within your own electromagnetic field, within your own aura field, becomes actually receptive to you as an empath. And at some point you actually gonna like identify with some of these emotions as if they're really yours, because as an empath, subconsciously you pick up on these emotions, you pick up on these thoughts, and you experience them yourself internally. But then like if ever you're not really aware of the fact that you have that ability within you, you're actually gonna identify with these emotions and thoughts as if they're really yours. Like you actually absorb like low vibrational emotions and low vibrational thoughts that can clog up your own aura field, that can clog up your own electromagnetic field, which can clog up your own electromagnetic signal. So being an empath is not really that easy. And the thing is, as an electromagnetic being, because each and every single person is a bioelectrical being, actually we're actually like batteries, we're just living batteries. Our bodies are made of crystalline liquid. Our own meridian body and own like nervous system actually sends out electromagnetic impulses throughout our entire body, and the fact that we're made out of water. So in some sense we're actually batteries, and our own field and our own aura field is actually like the concentrated information within our own battery field. So if ever like you do not learn to build like that structure, meaning like that filter you know, like you're actually gonna have so many issues that you're gonna have to deal with, especially if you're going through shadow work, or if you're going through the shadow integration phases, or where you're going through like the process of making your own unconscious aspects of yourself be revealed to the surface. You know, just like how Carl Jung, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but he says like, if you do not make your unconscious conscious, you will actually be like dictated by those unconscious aspects of yourself, and you'll actually call it fate. And currently right now I'm paraphrasing because I don't really know how to actually code it out, but you know what Carl Jung's philosophy says about like your subconscious mind and your unconscious self. If you're in that period of time in your life and you realize that there's so many things that are actually clogged up within you subconsciously, you'd find that some of those clogged up energies and all of those clogged up thoughts and emotions were not really yours to begin with. These are just things that you've adopted as you know you hang out as a child with all other children. And I want to be honest, I actually noticed like so many of my peers and so many individuals that we commonly associate ourselves with are not truly authentic and genuine in the way they present themselves in front of people. There are actually people who are much more insecure than we really thought. There are people who are actually in a much more fearful vibration subconsciously. There are actually people who do not even have pure intentions towards other individuals. And there are some individuals who do not show their authentic versions of themselves, right? Meaning they're not authentically expressing like the versions that they're actually supposed to authentically reveal, because of like due to the fact that we live in an egotistical, narcissistic society where everybody is constantly talking about aura farming and acting nonchalant, which is actually a form of ego boosting. So like this aura farming concept and acting nonchalant and I don't care, it's just another form of ego boosting. But you know, just to some people, you know, they could seem really cool, where like some people could seem as if like, you know, like they don't care about anything, they do not give a fuck about anything that's happening around them externally, and they want to show like some sense of dominance. And then when you're like someone who's an empath, like even if like they try to manipulate all other individuals within that social space, they try to manipulate all of their peers and all of their like social interactions, like, you know, within that field. It could be in a workspace environment, it could be at school, it could be even in a spiritual community, it could be even in a spiritual sector. Like there are people even within spiritual sectors and even within religious sectors, because there are spiritual sectors and there are religious sectors, and these are two completely different sectors. But I don't really want to go into that, you know, in this video. But what I could say is that everywhere you go where there are people, there's always going to be those people who do not have pure intentions and who always try to project a different imagery from what they really are. And you as an empath, you can see right through that. You as an empath, you can actually like pick up on these things that most people are not able to pick up, because as an empath, you are actually at a much more higher vibrational wavelength. You are actually like perceiving things from the bird's eye view. And once you look into these people's eyes, because you know, like your eyes are actually the mirror of your own soul. Your own eyes actually reveal like the type of life force that you're vibrating and the intent that you have. So when you look at these people's eyes, even if you don't look at them by their eye, just by your own electromagnetic field merging with your own electromagnetic field, you can actually see them for who they really are, for what they really are. And most people won't really like the fact that you can actually see right through them. Most people won't like this, and at some point they're going to be projecting hatred towards you. They're going to try to frame you as the low vibrational negative person. They'll try to frame you as the villain, and at some point you just have to accept it. And if ever you grow up in your early childhood years and you grow up being this type of individual where like you've had clear empathy, or you've had clairsentient, or like you're clairvoyant, or any other psychic clairs that are associated with your various chakras. Maybe at a young age, there's a various certain type of chakra, that has been dominant during those time periods when you're growing up, and like a distinct psychic Clair, a psyche Clair that's associated with a distinct chakra, whether like it is your root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, your heart, your throat, or your arch nut, third eye chakra, or your crown, any other Clair that is associated with these chakras. Maybe it was dominant during certain time periods, during various certain timelines, and you've been able to pick up on certain things that most people were not really able to pick up. Those who notice that you're actually picking up on this type of like aspects that they're really hiding from everybody else, it's gonna make you more of a social outcast. It will make you like a loner, even if you're physically there. Mentally, like you're at a different wavelength. Emotionally, you're picking up on a whole new different vibration, and like it makes you feel like a loner. It makes you feel like a social outcast, even if you're doing whatever you're doing there. And it could be even in low vibrational spaces, because I don't wanna lie, there have been places that I've been in and I really wish I wasn't in those spaces. Like there were places that I've been in, smoking weed, smoking herbally, hanging out with low vibrational people and low vibrational chicks, and like doing some low vibrational third dimensional BS. And like it's just part of growing up. You do those things, some of them you outgrow them, and some of them it's really hard to go out of that loop once you've adopted with some of these habits and some of these vices that you've associated yourself with as you grew up with certain individuals. But then, even if like you were in those type of scenarios and spaces, there are so many things you could have picked up from so many individuals that everybody else wasn't realizing. And I'm sure you were that one individual who was receiving the most hatred in those moments. I'm sure you were the one individual who's been like feeling like you were not really meant to be in that space. And it could be even in good high vibrational spaces. It could be even in certain spiritual communities. Maybe there's a youth within that spiritual community. There are a group of your own peers within that spiritual sector, within that spiritual center or place that you're currently, doing whatever, spiritual practice, or like spiritual, like practice, or any form of like consciousness-based activities that you usually would go do within those various spaces. And you find that there are actually some of your peers whose awakening stages have not reached the timeline that you're currently vibrating at, and they could perceive that as if like it's actually like some form of egotism, or you're just acting as if you're better than everybody else in the space that you're currently in, as if like like they can pick up like there's this vibration that you have, there's this aura that you're actually emitting into the field that is making them insecure, that is making them feel less of themselves, that is making them realize that they're not actually living up to the potential that they're actually supposed to live up to, since they see you showing up, since they see you putting yourself out there, since they see you doing the things that others are uncomfortable of doing even within these spaces. So yeah, it's gonna make you like struggle like a lot amongst like so many ways. You're just gonna struggle and you're just not gonna fit in, and at some point you just have to accept it, and at some point you just have to know this is just who I am, this is just how things are always gonna be. And if ever you're going through an awakening, or like you're in that shadow integration phases, or like you're much more closer to reaching your own ascension phase, because of course you won't always be in that ascended state, because ascension is not really a permanent state you could truly live, you could truly embody for the rest of your life. There will be moments where you will go into that low vibrational phase. There will be moments where you're gonna go through those high vibrational ascension phases, where you have to reach a new higher timeline, where you have to reach a much more higher vibrational wavelength than your old timeline, than the old version of yourself. So at some point, if ever like you're someone who's going through all of this, I just really have to say that being an empath really sucks, and it's not a really like simple thing you could just embody, or like a simple thing that you just can accept, and it's not really something that you'd really wish to be if you've been an empath, because like I had to pause my video right there. There was this other truck that was not passing by. But I was saying is like, you don't really wish to be one once you understand the pain that you go through. It's like an example, like, here in South Africa, and if like you're someone in South Africa, I'm sure you've noticed like a lot of individuals are putting themselves in like spiritual authorities and positions that they're not supposed to be in. Like most people are trying to like put themselves in positions of becoming indigenous traditional healers, or others are trying to become these indigenous spiritual guiders and healers. And in some sense, healing like is not really in the same concept. Not everyone is meant to be like in that position where you're supposed to put your hands on other people's crown chakras. Not everyone is in that position where you can do Reiki healing, or you're someone who's actually supposed to like use some medical traditional spiritual herbs in some sense, such as ubungoma, such as ubuthandazi. There's so many various ways you could become a healer. There's so many various ways you could be a guiding authority in some sense. But if ever like there's certain things that are not associated with your own spiritual path, or like that are not associated with your own soul journey, or like like the purpose or task or mission that you were given to do here on earth, don't try to put yourself in authorities and positions that are not meant to you. And I've noticed that like there's some people who do that, like here in South Africa for this couple of 3 to 4 years, since like 2019 has occurred, since like there's been all of this awakening thing that have been happening on mainstream media. It's almost the same as an empath. Everyone is throwing around this term empath, being empathic, being an empath, and it's not really something you really like wish to be once you are one, because it really is a struggle. It really is something that makes you uncomfortable and makes you rejected and being an outcast, and it's just something that you have to accept before you reach your ascension phase. Because at some point, even if like it's not something like you really wish to be, because you still have to go through that ascension phase where you should actually learn how to filter this type of thoughts and emotions when you pick them up without actually absorbing them. And maybe I'm gonna make a video, like a second part of like this empath video, on how to actually filter thoughts and emotions without actually absorbing and identifying with this type of thoughts and emotions. But I really feel like being on semen retention, and also being into like the sexual alchemy path, like being into sexual energy transmutation, will also really help me like to reach my higher states of the ascension process, my higher states of integrating my own sharing ego, and to awaken like the true dormant abilities of my own consciousness. But then I'm just gonna keep on documenting, I'm just gonna keep on recording videos, I'm just gonna keep on letting y'all know like how far can I go on this path since ever I started practicing this lifestyle into like sexual energy transmutation, or this path of sexual alchemy and semen retention. But like I'm just gonna cut the video here. To those who reached this far, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the support. Can you please, bros and fam, please like, share and subscribe to the channel, and please drop down a comment below on what of your insight and knowledge issues that you've gained, and I'll see you guys in the next videos.